Okay, man, so delinquent anime used to be like this. And this. And this. And now it's like this.
So look, imagine this. Imagine two 12-year-olds kissing, right? And then this 47-year-old, he astral projects his mind into the body of one of the 12-year-old.
So to figure out what the fuck happened, we need to talk about one of the GOATs. Kyokara Orewa. Alright, so you got these two dudes, Mizuhashi and Ito, who are self-styled delinquents, aka they're frauds, dude. Up till now, you know, they live normal lives, but now it's time to make a change. So they did what every guy does when he needs to make a change. They got a haircut. You know, Mitsuhashi gets a haircut that people in Japan think makes you a menace, but people in the West think you're a K-pop idol. And Ito gets a haircut that is actually dangerous. Holy shit. Wait, if you set that balloon free,
It will be the end of all of us! No!
usually delinquent anime or manga, you know, follow a certain formula. Basically, the main characters will go around town looking for rival gangs to take down so they can prove their strength, right? But what's cool about this anime is that they don't really go out of their way. Most encounters are pretty natural. See, it's kind of like JoJo's, where every delinquent will eventually encounter another delinquent, except instead of stands, they have these haircuts. And look, if you're in one of these shows and you don't have this haircut, yourself. Or they're gonna do it for you, man. Okay, so back to the duo. First, we gotta talk about Mitsuhashi. This dude, he's an asshole, man. But he's also one of the funniest motherfuckers you'll ever see in anime. Like, he might actually be in the top 10 trolls all time. Like, okay, look, picture this, man. Imagine you're getting jumped by
3 full-grown men in a pool alone with no women around.
But then out of nowhere, your friend pulls up, beats the shit out of him, and you know, he saves you, right? But then right when you're about to thank him, the cops pull him. So you know, you gotta get out of there. You guys start running, and he's like, wait, dude, I know how to escape. All you had to do is just tie this rope around you. You're like, bet, right? You know, he just saved your life from
3 full-grown men.
So you're like, okay, and you tie the rope around you, and then he drowns you. Okay, maybe he's just an asshole, but you know, at least it makes his fight scenes better, man, which we'll talk about later. Now, Ito is damn near the opposite. He's the type of dude to walk into a 1v5 unarmed and be like, you're gonna need more than that to beat me. Lose, and then come back the next day and win. Like, no training, like he just won for some reason. And yeah, some people would call him hard-headed, and he is, dude. He could literally pop a balloon or a rock just by changing what part of his head that he uses. It's actually insane. You know, he's the type of dude who fights for honor and faces everything straightforward, which makes him probably the best and worst possible partner for Mitsuhashi. The thing is though, because they're so different and similar, you get this cool dynamic where they actually feel like real friends, dude. Like, they don't just meet and start calling each other Nakama, you know, they argue, they make fun of each other, they get into Looney Tunes style fights, which is basically the triangle of friendship right there, man. Like, I would know. I have 2 friends. To most people, they'd probably seem like enemies. At least until someone else tried to fuck with them. Now, what makes the fight scene so cool is that it's not all like traditional styles, right? People fight how they act. Like, we know Mitsuhashi's an asshole, right? So he fights dirty, kind of like a trickster. You know, he'll use like sandballs, bungee cords, and he could do this. And things like this, you know, add a lot of diversity to the scenes because, you know, he's a little more crafty and tactical than the other people in the show, right? Then you got someone like Ito, who will give you like these drawn out slugfests, or he doesn't mind exchanging 3 hits if it means he could hit you once. kind of like another guy I want to talk about in a different video. The thing is though, most fights don't last too long, unless it's a major fight, right? And I'm not gonna say they're realistic, because if I saw dudes fighting like this outside of my house, I would never come out again. But they feel like street fights in the sense that they could end in a few hits, and if you get the first hit, you got a major advantage. Now look, the fights are good, but to understand what makes them great, we gotta talk about the story. Look, I've been sitting here for the last hour, you know, trying to find a way to lie to you guys, because I don't want to say it. I don't want to say it, man. But I gotta say it, right? Never will you catch me watching a slice of life anime, unless it has delinquents in it. Yeah, I know all the slice of life haters just did the ISO speed backflip. I'm about to do it too. Oh my god! The anime zone's getting ready to attack as we speak. Like they don't want to admit it, but what it is, dude. Fuck. Nah, but honestly, you can probably place it more in the comedy or action category, but most of the show is just them living life, man. But there is two parts of the story that actually elevate it beyond this. First off, these guys are high schoolers, so there's no life or death stakes and no major injury, because most fights end after someone gets knocked down. But you know what that means? It means the main characters can lose without the whole fucking story falling apart. But you still care about them, because there still is something to lose. See, there's not a main goal to this show. Like, they're not trying to find the One Piece dude, but there is development. They want to be true delinquents. Not the guy who roams your street holding onto his balls, like not that guy. But you know, a man who lives free. A man who doesn't run away from anything. A man who's stronger than anyone. Like, even if the Yakuza pull up, they're 10 toes down. What? A man who doesn't run away. So yeah, they're not gonna die if they lose a fight, but their pride is on the line every time, and you don't want to see them lose it. Also, if the haircut is rule number 1, not fucking with Yakuza and delinquent anime is rule number 2. I guess they realize they can't fight a fucking gun. Adding on to this, not every fight is serious, and that's usually where a lot of the tricks will come in, but when they are, the intensity is kinda unreal. Imagine you're in a fight, there's no light except for the moon. All you can hear are the train tracks, the sound of bones being crushed, and your own breath. There's no crowd to cheer you on, and the only thing keeping you standing is your pride. You know, to anyone else, it's just another street fight, but for you, it's a challenge to your own way of life.
分かってんのか。俺は明久の頭、片桐聡だぞ。なら俺は金髪の一匹狼、三橋隆だ。俺よりえばったやつは叩き潰す。ただそれ。
And I couldn't come with a transition, so wow, look at that animation, dude. Now look, we'll get back to the story and the character later, but we gotta talk about how good the animation is, man. When I say the animation is good, I don't mean this on some Mappa, we're not letting you guys sleep till next Christmas type animation. You know, I just mean it's really expressive. See, for some reason in 90s Japan, every time they made an OVA, they decided to put all their money into it, like some gacha game addict who didn't get the new LR yet.
Who the fuck is this racist? Grandmaster? The Grandmaster of the Ku Klux Klan?
So you get this really expressive animation that makes this one of the most visually fun anime I've seen. The style of the show is also very nostalgic for me for some reason, which is weird because I promise I'm not that old, guys. You know, I'm not that old. But when it's fun, it kind of gives off this like childhood hometown vibe, you know, kind of like a Domai animation. But then when things get serious, you know, it turns into a more crime thriller, blackjack type vibe. If you haven't watched Blackjack, what the fuck are you doing? I don't have a video on it, so I don't know. Shit. Wait until I make a video on it and then come back and then watch that. But look, dude, whoever did the colors and the shadows for this anime, like, give me some of your talent, dude. Like, No, I'm serious. Give me that shit right now. I'm gonna have to go to your house. So you're probably like, okay, Dean, that's cool, man. I guess, but like, you said there were 2 things that elevate the story, told us one, and then stopped talking about the story.
Grandmaster?
And look, that's true. But who cares? So anyways, what if I told you that this show has the greatest anime character of all time? Would you believe me? His name? Imai Katsutoshi.
Hey, Krispy Kreme donuts, we glazing. Fuck it.
Imagine you're like me. I mean like him. 6'3", strong.
Get off that nigga dick, bro. What is you doing?
What? No.
The bancho of your school, aka the leader of Benny High. And every episode, you get fucking clowned out.
Fuck.
Like you try to start a 1v1, and then you get stuck in the door.
Sugoi.
Then you try to, get some revenge, right? And you tell him to meet you at 6 sharp for a 1v1. And then he doesn't show up.
Baka.
So finally you're like, fuck this guy, bro. I'm gonna just get a girlfriend instead. Like, who cares? So you go on a date straight out of a Fabio romance novel, right? And everything's going good, it's hot, but the summer breeze is, it's strong. Well, actually it's too fucking strong, and you start inhaling her hair like you're trying to become perfect self, and now she thinks you're a Rams fan. And that guy seen it too. Like, you got all the tools for success, but your life kind of fucking sucks, man. So if this was you, like, what would you do? Maybe stop being delinquent, become a basketball player. I mean, you're pretty tall, right? You're 6'3". Maybe stop literally inhaling girls' hair. Like, how the fuck? At the very least, you'd probably just stop hanging around this motherfucker, right? And look, if Imai did one of those things, I'd be like, yeah, bro, I don't blame you, man. But on episode 9, he decided to become the GOAT instead. After breaking rule number 2 because of Mitsuhashi,
Leaf Village Secret Finger Jutsu!
Imai goes into hiding as a guy from Bludgeoning Angel Dokuro-chan.
What?
And look, if you don't know what that is, it's fine, because I don't know what the fuck that is either.
What?
But either way, he looks like this guy now. And he gives his title and his name to his friend Koyama, so the Yakuza can't find him. Unfortunately, a couple hours later, the second in command of that Yakuza pulls up with some goons to pay his boss back for the free drink. Koyama doesn't back down, but he literally doesn't know how to fight. Like, he didn't throw one punch, so he gets his ass whooped, and his friend Tanigawa, who couldn't stand seeing his friend get beat up, joins in. Later, Imai pulls up to the sight of his 2 friends beaten to a pulp, which would make any guy angry, but what gets to him is the fact that they started apologizing to him, trying to get him to leave before they came back, even though it was his fault. And at this moment, something changed, something inside him. After all the losses, all the switching, all the running away, Imai decided to break the number 2 rule in Delinquent anime: fucking with the Yakuza. Now he's walking alone, with only an umbrella at his side, and corners himself in the junkyard, putting his back against the wall as the Yakuza pull him. Now, at this point, bro, I'm looking like this dude, because I know it's only a matter of time until he folds and then the Caleb City music starts playing. But that didn't happen. Instead, he was unfazed, and he jumped in. After the sneak attack, he starts backing away. The fear finally starts to set in. Or, at least it would have before. Instead, my boy picks up the freeze. Who cares if he couldn't beat Mitsuhashi, man? Who cares if everyone calls him a failure? Who cares if he inhaled that girl's hair because in the most pressurized moment in his life, when his friends needed him the most, against the Yakuza that the main characters ran away from. He stands tall. If Martians invaded, death being pointed at the earth, and we only have one man to fight, I want Imai Katsutoshi. Dean? This guy sucks. What am I doing? You guys don't sound like that. My bad. That was disrespectful. Dean, this guy. But hold on. Would you say a man who is considered one of Michael Jordan's greatest rivals sucks? Well, let's see how Michael Jordan describes this man.
I go in and we playing and we got into a switch, and Charles jumps out and guards me. And yeah, I never known Charles as a defensive stopper. So the first thing he does, he breaks down in his defensive position, hands up. Everything looks technically right. And I just laugh. I say, when the hell are you gonna start playing defense? And who taught you how to get in a defensive stance? And I had to pass it. But that's the type of guy, he would take on a challenge, even though he was not up to the challenge. He didn't care.
Someone who always faces the challenge, even if they aren't qualified. Who does that sound like? Yeah, it sounds like my boy, Imai Katsutoshi.
今井さん、俺猛烈に感動してます。かっこよかったっすよ。途中までは。あれはもうちょっと優しく運んでくれない。なんか負けそう。
As of right now, there are two current anime that carry the torch of the classics: Tokyo Revengers and Windbreaker. Now, as much as I clowned on Revengers at the start, I can't deny that there are some good moments from that show that hit pretty hard emotionally. So, I gotta give it credit, even though I'm not the biggest fan. As for Windbreakers, it seems to be the first Delinquent anime in a while to feel like a genuine successor to me. Even if some of the better moments get bogged down by motherfuckers yapping too much, man. With all that being said though, there still is one major difference that separates them from the classics. A core element that I consider the soul of Delinquent anime, which can't be found in the other shows. So before we talk about what's missing, we gotta find it first. So let me tell you a story. Mitsuhashi and Iso are on a school trip to Kyoto, which would usually mean a romance arc, but the main character is a fucking tsundere. But hey, more fighting for us, right? Anyway, their reputation starts to spread, and it gets the attention of Makoto Nakano, the Bancho of Ibaraki, a guy who loves to fight and hates nothing more than losing. Now I'm not gonna tell the entire story, cause it's not necessary, and if I make another video over 10 minutes, I'm gonna take 10 bullets to my chest.
Everybody died, me included.
So fast forward, and here we are. It's midnight, we're under a bridge, Mitsuhashi's down, and Ito's the only one who can restore his pride. So they fight, and from the jump, Nakano dominates with speed. And just like guarding a short kid playing basketball, the harder you try, the more you get embarrassed. But Ito wouldn't fall. Ito does whatever he can to exchange one hit for 5, and it starts to take a toll on Nakano. This keeps going until Ito hits him with the strongest move I've ever seen in an anime. With the fight over and their pride restored, they start to leave, but another gang pulls up and tries to kill Steel.
Look at Randy Orton slithering. Watch out, watch out, watch out, watch out!
Mitsuhashi sees this and doesn't want to lose his title of top 10 assholes to them. Now, with no more business, they decide to leave. But Nakano interrupts them, and he says he didn't want their help, and now they gotta settle it again. So what did Mitsuhashi do next? Did he say, oh, we're friends now? Did he start rambling about honor and respect? No. He told him to fuck off because he's tired. And honestly, that's the core right there. The freedom. This is just a small moment, but it comes up a lot in the classics, and it's what these shows are built on. The will to do whatever they want, regardless from what people expect from them. Like, there's always appeal in watching cool fights, badass characters, and motherfuckers just being funny. But those are things that you can see in any shonen. What separates the Delinquents is that there's no One Piece, there's no Hokage, there's not even a title belt. The reason they fight, the reason they break the rules, and the reason they have these fucking haircuts, dude, is simply because that's the way they want to live. Look, Windbreakers is a great manga, and to be fair, the only reason it lacks this is because of the plot, right? It's about a main character who has a mission to be the strongest, in a school that has a mission to protect their city. Even though it has delinquent characters, it's trying to be something different. See, the fact is, the old classics ran off a simple formula. And I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of the newer authors just felt like, it was getting overdone, and wanted to add a little bit more complexity to the formula. Complexity has the ability to add more depth and make things hit harder emotionally, but it can also cause you to lose what made something special in the first place. And you can see this firsthand in Tokyo Revengers. Like, not only is there a time travel aspect, but the main character doesn't even really want to be a delinquent, he's just kind of forced into it. So no matter how much they cooked in these shows, it was never going to have the same appeal as the classics. But that's not necessarily a bad thing, right? I mean, at the end of the day, things need to adapt or they start to fade. I mean, honestly, the reason they probably even stopped making them like this is because they started to fall off, dude. I mean, the last Delinquent anime to have a rating as high as these two that followed the formula was, well, we've been talking about it the whole fucking video. Like, there were some really good manga that followed in the footsteps, but I think there's something to be said about none of them getting an anime. Even the GOAT didn't get anything more than a shitty OVA, but that's a story for another day. As much as it sucks that we'll probably never get this style again, I'm cool with it. I mean, like, if they never changed, we wouldn't have gotten the amazing fights from Windbreaker, or the life-changing lessons from GTO, the dumbass moments from Beelzebub, or even the insane character development in Holy Land, which is in my top 3 manga of all time. So yeah, it was probably for the best that we don't really see this fucking hairstyle anymore. But even though I know that, I'm still kinda sad that Delinquent anime will never be the same.
No matter how much you want it or how hard you try, you can't live in the past. It just doesn't work that way. No matter how wonderful it might have been, the past is nothing but the past.
Is that so?
But I really shouldn't be telling you about all this.